I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation.
You know, we're doing such a great job at the White House. Well, it's easy to do a good job when you are acting on common sense.
The moment everyone's been waiting for finally happened. A 27-year-old conservative demolished Whoopi Goldberg on her own show. Karoline Leavitt walked into The View expecting the usual ambush, but what happened next left the audience in stunned silence. ABC executives are now in full panic mode as the clip goes viral across America. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. The moment started like any other View segment, the liberal hosts circling their conservative guest like sharks. But something was different this time. This wasn't just any Republican stepping into the lion's den. This was Karoline Leavitt, and The View's ambush was about to blow up in their smug faces. We've all seen how The View operates when a conservative dares to appear on their show. Just look at their track record. When Meghan McCain tried making a point, Whoopi would cut to commercial. When Candace Owens spoke, Joy Behar rolled her eyes so hard you could hear them scraping the ceiling. It's less of a View and more of a one-way street where conservative guests are treated like piñatas at a birthday party. But Karoline Leavitt isn't your average conservative commentator. At just 25 years old, she graduated from St. Anselm College before launching a congressional campaign that turned heads nationwide. And let's not forget her most impressive credential, becoming the youngest White House press secretary in American history. Did The View's hosts bother researching any of this before her appearance? Clearly not, because they were too busy sharpening their claws. The ambush began immediately. Joy Behar, with her trademark subtlety of a sledgehammer, opened with a comment that would make even hardened political operatives wince. Let's be honest, Behar smirked. According to Donald Trump, you're a 10. That's the real reason you got your job.
You know, we're doing such a great job at the White House. Well, it's easy to do a good job when you are acting on common sense.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
The studio audience gasped. This wasn't just an insult. It was the kind of sexist attack The View would spend weeks condemning if directed at a liberal woman. The hypocrisy couldn't have been more blatant. These are the same women who dedicate entire segments to lamenting the objectification of women in politics. The same hosts who claim to champion female empowerment across professional landscapes. Yet when faced with an accomplished young conservative woman, their first instinct was to reduce her to her appearance. The mask didn't just slip, it crashed to the floor and shattered. What the hosts didn't expect was Leavitt's composure. Where they anticipated defensiveness or flustered stammering, they instead witnessed a masterclass in grace under pressure. The camera caught Sunny Hostin's confident smirk, slowly fading as Leavitt remained unshaken. "I actually prepared extensively for this interview," Leavitt responded coolly. "I researched all of your backgrounds and professional accomplishments because I believe in treating other women with respect, regardless of political differences." The temperature in the studio dropped 10 degrees. This wasn't in the script. Conservatives were supposed to get defensive, not counterpunch with poise. Leavitt continued building her case methodically. She outlined her education, her work experience, and her qualifications without raising her voice or showing a hint of the anger she surely felt.
Hypothetical based on programs that you can't even identify. What I can tell you is that
clear, since you guys haven't identified, let's do it together, just for Americans at home.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework.
Before joining the Trump team, I worked as a journalist and communications professional. I earned my position through hard work and dedication. The audience, primed to laugh at the conservative guest's expense, instead fell uncomfortably silent. You could see the panic setting in among the hosts. Ana Navarro frantically shuffled her notes. Sarah Haynes suddenly became fascinated with her coffee mug. They'd expected an easy target, not a composed young woman systematically dismantling their narrative. Then came the moment that set social media ablaze and sent ABC executives into crisis mode. After enduring almost 10 minutes of condescension, Leavitt finally unleashed the knockout blow that left Whoopi Goldberg speechless for perhaps the first time in television history. "You sit up here preaching about women's empowerment," Leavitt said, making direct eye contact with each host in turn. "But the second a conservative woman succeeds, you say it's because of her looks. Do you have any idea how hypocritical that makes you look to millions of American women watching right now?" The studio audience, typically reliable cheerleaders for the host's political viewpoints, erupted in spontaneous applause. The camera caught several audience members nodding vigorously. For perhaps the first time in The View's history, the crowd wasn't following the host's lead. They were acknowledging the undeniable truth of what they'd just witnessed.
Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here. Talk about it. And to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
That spontaneous audience reaction sent shockwaves through ABC headquarters. For the first time in The View's history, America witnessed the unthinkable. Whoopi Goldberg, daytime TV's most dominant voice, completely silenced on her own turf. The aftermath? Nothing short of a full-blown crisis behind the scenes. Whoopi has built her reputation at The View's roundtable as the ultimate conversation controller. For years, viewers have watched her shut down debates with a single withering glare, talk over guests she disagrees with, and deliver the final verdict on any political topic. Her signature move? The dismissive hand wave followed by moving on whenever a conservative viewpoint gains too much traction. Until Leavitt showed up, this formula had worked flawlessly. What viewers couldn't see during the on-air confrontation was Whoopi's rapidly changing body language. As Leavitt calmly dismantled the host's hypocrisy point by point, Whoopi's usual confident posture crumbled. Her shoulders tensed, her eyes darted to producers off-camera, and her trademark interruptions failed to materialize. The queen of daytime TV was visibly rattled, her usual arsenal of comebacks nowhere to be found. Inside sources reveal that absolute chaos erupted backstage during the segment.
Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about. Women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation.
Producers were frantically signaling to cut to commercial, says one ABC insider. They knew Whoopi was drowning out there, but the confrontation was generating such authentic audience reaction that executives were torn about stopping it. The control room became a pressure cooker of competing voices, some demanding intervention, others recognizing they were witnessing ratings gold, however uncomfortable. While ABC executives were horrified by what transpired, social media was having a field day. Within hours, clips of the confrontation went viral, generating millions of views across platforms. Hashtags like "Whoopi fired" and "Leavitt takedown" began trending nationwide as viewers shared the rare sight of The View's most powerful personality being completely outmatched on her own show. The public reaction forced ABC into immediate damage control. Emergency meetings were called as executives confronted unusual viewer patterns. People who normally avoided The View were suddenly tuning in, specifically to see Whoopi's confrontation with Leavitt. One network insider admitted, "We've never seen anything like it. The clips were everywhere, and viewer metrics showed people re-watching the segment multiple times." Perhaps the most telling sign of the meltdown's severity was Whoopi's conspicuous absence from the very next episode. ABC's official statement claimed she was taking time to reflect on recent discussions. But industry insiders saw through the thin excuse. For a host who's weathered numerous controversies without missing a beat, this unprecedented absence spoke volumes about the damage control happening behind closed doors. The crisis deepened when major sponsors began expressing concern. Advertisers, already nervous about associating with politically divisive content, started questioning their placement during The View's time slot. Several companies reached out within 24 hours of the confrontation, revealed a media buyer with knowledge of ABC's advertising relationships. They were worried about the backlash and how Whoopi's reaction might reflect on their brands. For ABC executives, the situation presented an impossible dilemma. Do they double down on The View's current format, a panel heavily weighted toward progressive viewpoints with token conservative representation? Or do they acknowledge the viral reaction as evidence that audiences crave more balanced discussion? The stakes couldn't be higher, with the network's daytime flagship suddenly looking vulnerable. What makes this meltdown particularly significant is how it exposed the fragility of mainstream media's one-sided presentation. For years, shows like The View have operated with the assumption that their viewpoint represents the majority of Americans. In 30 seconds, Leavitt shattered that illusion by connecting directly with viewers who felt misrepresented and dismissed. This moment is more than just a viral clip. It represents a seismic shift in how conservative voices can reclaim their power in hostile media environments. The establishment never saw it coming. One determined young woman with unwavering conviction just dismantled the entire facade of The View's women supporting women mythology, and America was all too ready for it. The fallout speaks volumes. While network executives scramble behind closed doors, viewers are witnessing what many have suspected for years. These daytime talk shows aren't interested in honest dialogue. They're echo chambers masquerading as diverse forums. The mask has finally slipped. The real question now haunts ABC boardrooms. Continue the charade and watch their credibility collapse, or actually practice the diversity of thought they've been preaching? History suggests they'll double down on their bias, but this time, they've been exposed on their own turf in front of millions. The game has changed forever, and The View will never be the same.